Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to Soxy Chicks. Obviously, I have Bailey here with me, but we have a special guest for the first time. It's Allison Mccague. She is our Mets girly mutual. Um, she has a pod of her own, and they do a lot of cool stuff with Amazing Avenue as well. But we have her on for a very special reason. I would like her to discuss this really amazing thing that they do with a pod of their own called Dollars for Dingers. So we're going to just ask a couple quick questions. So, Allison, please tell us what Dollars for Dingers is.
Sure. And first of all, thank you, Crystal and Bailey, for having me on today to talk about Dollars for
Absolutely.
Dingers. I really appreciate it. It's always awesome to get this out to other fan bases because we don't want this to just be limited to like my little Mets circle. Dollars for Dingers is a fundraiser that my podcast, A Pod of Their Own, that I co-host with Linda Surovich and Maggie Wiggin, also of Amazing Avenue. It's an annual fundraiser that we do every year. We raise money for the National Domestic Violence Hotline for every home run the Mets hit during the month of September. So we started on September 1st. We keep a Google sheet of pledges, and people will pledge like a dollar amount, $1, $2, whatever. Per home run. And then we have a column in the spreadsheet for extra pledges, which people have gotten more and more creative every year with those. Usually it's just like they'll pick a favorite player and pledge extra for like Pete Alonso dingers or, Daniel Vogelbach is a very popular extra this year, as is Mark Canha. But people have gotten more and more creative with it every year. They'll do things like, $5 every time Buck Showalter gets ejected for a rule that only he knows, or something like they home runs off the foul pole, like crazy things. Like people have gotten increasingly creative. So we really enjoyed seeing how people have gotten creative with it. And obviously, like I said, this doesn't have to be limited to the Mets. Even though we're a Mets podcast, we welcome all fan bases. People have pledged for home runs against the Mets. We've had a couple of Yankee fans do that. So, as much as I get mad when that happens, I'm like, okay, whatever raises us money. So if you want to put in a pledge for the Sox or for your favorite team, like please feel free to do that. And you can write it in the extras and we will track that for you. And it all goes to the National Domestic Violence Hotline. We also do an in-person fundraiser every year as part of the kind of like concurrent with the online pledges. We do an in-person raffle event. And that was this past Saturday at Ebbs at Citi Field. We raised a ton of money. We always raffle off really cool Mets and baseball related prizes. And it was just an awesome time. So thanks to everyone that came out for that. And it was a great time. And I think we'll be doing it at Ebbs annually in the future for our local New York friends.
I saw the pictures. That looked really neat.
Yeah.
I will say I always do $1 per home run and then an extra dollar for every Pete Alonso home run. That's my thing. But I was looking in the spreadsheet earlier. They're getting pretty creative.
Yes. People do really, really nutty things. And I love to see what people come up with. So
there was one about hit by pitch. And I was like, you're gonna make so much money to donate.
Yeah, I know. Like a lot of people are doing hit by pitches this year because the Mets lead, as people might know, the Mets lead the league in hit by pitches and are not too happy about it. So, yeah.
So how much have you
raised?
Love this. How much have you raised to date?
So like I said, we had our in-person raffle event on Saturday. And at that event, we raised about $2,100 just in raffle ticket sales alone.
That's awesome.
So that was amazing. And we had raised about almost $7,000 through the pledges so far. And the month isn't even over yet, September 19th. So those combined were at almost $9,000 raised for the National Domestic Violence Hotline. So we're getting really close to that 10K mark. And I think we're going to hit it probably this week and even surpass it. And we will see if we can even get to 15K, which would be amazing. So Mets, start hitting those dingers. Let's go.
More dingers. To go and update something.
That's so cool. And how can, everybody get involved with doing this?
Sure. So if you go to, there's a few different ways that you can find the link to our Google Sheet, which is public. So once you find the link to our Google Sheet, you can go in there and enter a pledge yourself. So awesome. Our Google Sheet is our pinned tweet right now. So if you go to @apodoftheirown on Twitter and go to our pinned tweet, that's probably the easiest way to find it. There's also a post on the site on amazingavenue.com. If you go to amazingavenue.com, there will be a post that's pinned near the top of the page that has a pod of their own logo in it. The link to the Google Sheet is also in that post. A third way to pledge is also to email us, aa.apodoftheirown@gmail.com. If you can't figure out the spreadsheet, too complicated for you, you can email us, tell us your pledge, and we can put it in for you. But yeah, the easiest way is probably just to go to our pinned tweet on Twitter.
Yes, I know I've retweeted it. I can retweet it over on Soxy Chicks too. So, because we have a ton of White Sox and Red Sox fans, obviously, in there, but a couple strays from other teams that we get. So, yeah.
And like I said, we'll take pledges for any team. So if you want to play for if you want to pledge for the White Sox or the Red Sox, just put it in your little extras and say $2 per Red Sox home run or $2 per White Sox home run, and I will include that as a calculation. So I've been keeping this spreadsheet manually. It's like my favorite thing to do because I'm such a nerd. I'm a scientist, so I spend a lot of time on Excel. So I really enjoy keeping the spreadsheet and tabulating everything live as every Mets game goes on, and at the end of every day as I track the other teams and other players that are non-Mets that people have been pledging for. I know Mets fans have a soft spot for former Mets, so Wilmer Flores is a pledge, for example. Even though he's not on the Mets anymore, people still love him. So people have been pledging for things as crazy as the Tokyo Swallows home runs, because we have a friend of ours, a family member of ours, who is a big Tokyo Swallows fan. So any team, any player you want to pledge for, feel free.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, she clearly puts in a lot of work. So
very proud of our tracker. It's very pretty, and I love watching the number go up as I put in new things every day.
I mean, that's just so awesome, with the fact that you can have $10,000, but you're even trying to go above and beyond that. That's a huge goal to set, and to be so close to it and then be able to go above and beyond that for something so important is just, it's great. I'm glad you're doing something like this.
This kind of started in 2019 when we first started the podcast. We had a lot of feelings about when the Mets brought back Jose Reyes a couple of years before that. As you all may know, Jose Reyes is a really popular player that the Mets during the 2006 Mets, that era of good Mets teams. He was hugely popular during that time. A lot of people's childhood favorite Met. But then he was, arrested for domestic violence. He was not ultimately convicted of anything because his partner didn't cooperate with his investigators, as often happens in these cases. And so, it didn't end up causing jail time or anything like that, but it was still very obvious that he did something horrible. And, that kind of made me write him off forever. I was not interested in rooting for him anymore. But then the Mets brought him back on a contract after the domestic violence incident. And that really was a kind of a moment in my fandom where I had to reevaluate how I felt about the organization and the team. And we talked a lot about it on our podcast and, expressed our distaste for the whole thing. But we figured, why don't we just put our money where our mouth is instead of just continuing to scream into the void about how much this upsets us? Let's do something about it. Yeah. So that's kind of how this began, and it's been growing every single year. This is our fourth year doing it, and we plan on making it bigger and bigger every year. So it's been awesome to watch it grow, and we've been so overwhelmed by the support from the community.
Yeah, it's been great. And, as women in this kind of industry, we're always already doing these mental gymnastics. I've talked about it. I mean, I could talk for hours on the mental gymnastics that women face when they are big sports fans or sports writers, and just kind of in this atmosphere itself. I remember 2016 watching the Cubs win that World Series. I donated $5 for strike. I felt this intense guilt even watching the series happen because I hated Aroldis Chapman so much for everything he's done. And so, there's you have to try to do your best to separate it, but I love what you said, just kind of do something about it that will actually help. And so obviously that hotline is very near and dear to my heart, and unfortunately it is to a lot of people that experience, domestic violence, and it's awful. So it's so great that you guys are doing this. I know so many people appreciate it, and it's just incredible the support that you guys get, and that you're almost to $10,000, and it's only the 19th.
It's crazy. I am so overwhelmed and happy, and it's like, this is the highlight of our year every year, truly. And I'm glad it's getting bigger and bigger, because during the pandemic, domestic violence has become an even bigger problem than it already was in this country. And during the pandemic, women and victims are often trapped with their abusers, and it's just becoming like the hotline is more important than ever, the work that they are doing. So we are so happy to continue to partner with them for this effort. Absolutely.
So also, general Mets updates. How are you feeling? I mean, they can clinch tonight, right?
Pretty good. Yeah, they could. So if they win tonight, because they're playing the Brewers, if they win tonight, they will clinch a playoff spot, which is incredible.
What's that feel like? That must feel nice.
It feels amazing. It's the best. I mean, it's the best Mets team, like, possibly in my lifetime. I mean, the 2006 Mets are the only team that I can think of in my lifetime that have rivaled this team as far as regular season success, which is incredible. And obviously the Mets have not been in the playoffs since 2016, and 2016 was like they lost in the 1-game wild card playoff. So that was like barely a playoff appearance. 2015 is the last time they made any sort of deep run. It's crazy, because I feel like it's almost like it hasn't sunk in that they could clinch a playoff berth tonight, because they're in such a tight divisional race with the Braves. And so every day is stressful, because we're focusing on trying to stave them off, because the Braves have been on such an incredible run themselves. Yeah. And so it's like, I can't even sit back and appreciate the clinching of the playoff spot, because it's like, we want the division. And it's like the Mets have been in first place basically all year. They fell into second, like, very briefly. The Braves overtook them, but they've been in first basically the entire season. And so the idea that if, like, they don't win the division, they might win 100+ games and not win the division, and that would be like a disappointment, is like crazy. I need to like remind myself that, like, even if they don't win the division, to not be like disappointed, because this team is so good. It's just that the Braves are also so good, and they're the defending world champions. So
the Braves are better this year.
Than they were last year when they won the World Series. Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy. Like, that's something like, to the idea of, like, what Alex Anthopoulos has done there, where it's like, you can say, oh yes, the superpower Dodgers can give Freddie Freeman all the money. We're just going to trade for Matt Olson, and we're going to be better. It's like, that's brilliant. Like, and you want your team to be run like that. And and sure, it is like, there's the idea of like, oh, baseball and the business of it. The business side said, we're not going to pay Freddie Freeman, but you have to do the business side while also being like building your team in a smart way. And that's what the Braves have done. And I think that's what, Steve Cohen is doing with the Mets as well, is like building these teams in a smart way.
Yeah. I mean, Steve Cohen has expressed an open desire to become Dodgers East, and I think he's getting there. I mean, obviously they're going to need to have sustained success, not just this season, but they're going to have to be perennial contenders in order to establish themselves as one of those powerhouse teams, like the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Astros, like those teams that are in it every single year. But it's a good start, that's for sure. I think they're going to have to like do more. They're working on revamping their front office, and they've done a lot in that department. They've grown their analytics department. Recently, Sandy Alderson stepped down or announced that he's going to step down. He's currently team president, and he's going to step down, and someone else is going to take that role. So I think that it's they are ushering in a new era, and that's Sandy Alderson is kind of the last vestige of the like Wilpon era Mets, which it's unfair to pin all of that mediocrity on Sandy Alderson. He was very limited in what he could do due to a cheap and meddlesome ownership that the Mets dealt with for many, many years under the Wilpons. And so I think that it doesn't happen overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day. But the Mets are off to a very, very good start, year 2 of Steve Cohen's ownership, and they're already potentially a World Series contender. So that is very exciting.
They've been so fun to watch all year. We've been trying to take our kids to a bunch of different ballparks, and we checked off like 4 in the last 2 years for them. But we went to Great American to see the Mets because Great American's super close to where I'm at. And my son was like, I don't know who I'm going to cheer for going in. And then by the end of the night, he was like, these Mets guys, they're fun.
Yeah, they are. They're a very fun team. The clubhouse vibes compared to especially last year are just impeccably good. Like, just so fun to watch them night in and night out. They have so many players that are so easy to root for. Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso obviously doing the amazing things that they do day in and day out. But also guys like Mark Canha, who's just like genuinely a good guy and like just so fun to root for. Starling Marte, electric player, like so fun to root for him. Sadly, he's on the injured list right now, but hopefully he'll be back soon. But just, a really incredibly well-rounded team, a deep team with an excellent starting rotation. It's like, it's unfair. You get Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer, a 1-2 punch. But then after that, you have Chris Bassett, who legitimately would be an ace on the ace of many other staffs. And he's the Mets' like 3rd best starting pitcher. And then at the back end, you have Carlos Carrasco and Taijuan Walker, who are legitimately like mid-rotation starters. But at the Mets, they're like back end rotation starters. Just like setting up really well for a deep playoff run, I hope.
And then they have to go against Edwin Diaz.
And Edwin Diaz, and Narco taking the entire baseball world by storm. That has been, I think, my favorite storyline of 2022 has been to watch Edwin Diaz be truly elite again. Obviously he started off, he was in the big trade that was subject to a lot of scrutiny by the whole baseball world, not just Mets fans, because the Mets traded Jared Kelenic, who at the time was a blue chip prospect, like top tier prospect for Edwin Diaz, and taking on the Robinson Cano money as well. And Edwin Diaz had a very, very poor start with the Mets in 2019, had a very bad year. I think it's because the baseballs were juiced and he basically gave up a lot of homers. He either struck guys out or gave up homers, and blew a lot of saves and caused the 2019 Mets a lot of grief. But then he's been slowly getting better and better each season. And 2022 has been his best work yet. And he looks like the guy that the Mets traded for. He looks like the guy that he was as a Mariner, and it's been amazing to watch. And it's been awesome to watch his entrance song go viral, like across all of baseball. And I'm glad that like everyone gets to share the excitement that Mets fans are feeling at Citi Field.
I did notice that on the sheet that there were a couple Narco trumpet references as additional pledges.
And it's been like amazing because the guy who plays Narco, the trumpet on Narco, Timmy Trumpet, like came to Citi Field and played it live.
Crazy.
It was like basically a concert rolled into a ball game. Like I've never seen anything like that. And that's exactly the type of stuff that baseball needs to lean into to get new fans and to maintain its popularity. Not like, all this gimmicky, like these rule changes that Manfred's trying to implement and like make the game shorter by 10 minutes. Like he thinks that will impact like baseball's popularity. The things that will impact baseball's popularity are marketing the players better. And that's exactly what Edwin Diaz has been an example of this season.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like baseball has such a marketing issue that something like this is great. And that's what we have social media. It's like, we can grow something like this. You can truly market your team so well. And it's like a lot of some teams are better at it than others, of course, but it's like, it's an overall, it's an MLB issue to begin with, but it's like sometimes even these teams need to be a little bit better. Like I think the perfect example is that only 2 teams really went all out for like Pride Week, when I thought every team should have been doing that. And then you had issues where certain guys were like, well, I'm just not going to wear those colors. It's like, no, you need to like, because that gets like a whole community of people like feel alienated by people doing this. So it's just like things like that, just we'd get so much more interaction if you could just get all of these various like wonderful communities more into your sport. But it's like they're trying to separate themselves from these things. And it's hurtful to just so many people.
Yeah.
And not having like good women's merch.
Yes,
Like it's just like
awful.
such an easy win to like stock shirts in women's sizes and jerseys in women's sizes, but so few teams do this. And it's like, come on, you're alienating like potentially like half your fan base.
I actually had this issue in Detroit over the weekend. I wanted an Austin Meadows shirt. That's all I wanted. And they had them in extra large and large. And I was like, you don't even, like, I can fit into a medium even. Like, medium. And they were like, no, we've been sold out. I don't think we're restocking them since the season's over. And like, that was even men's sizing. Like the women's shirts were like glittery.
Yeah.
Like, I don't do glitter. I don't do pink.
I don't want a shirt that's glittery. I want a shirt that's like the colors of my team.
Yeah.
Not pink.
I want this to be fitted and look nice on me, but not glittery. And I want Austin's name on the back.
Should be a relatively simple request, and yet.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's so true. Sometimes I'll buy like the extra large kids because they'll fit better than even like the adult small and things like. And I do remember when like Alyssa Milano came out and had like a line of like clothes for like female fans, but that goes back to what Krista was saying. A lot of those were like bedazzled. And it was like, well, what if you don't necessarily want a bedazzle? Like I'm a pink girl and I'm a bedazzled girl. So like, I will take it, but clearly like Crystal's not. So like you're alienating them by thinking that this is the one way that like this group of fans want their stuff. And that's not true. Like, so you just want a jersey that will fit you.
Exactly. My David Wright jersey is a youth large or whatever.
My Roberto Clemente shirt is a youth large. I got the same size as my son. It's like, okay, here we go.
I was like, this is like more available to me than either women's sizing or like and fits me better than the men's sizing. So
yeah.
I ended up walking away with the small Miguel Cabrera shirt. At least
it's a good one though.
All I could do.
Consolation prize.
We obviously don't want to keep you forever. So where can we find you?
Sure. You can find my writing at amazingavenue.com along with all of our other super talented writers. You can find me on Twitter at Petite PhD. You can find our show on Twitter at A Pod of Their Own. If you go to the pinned tweet, that's where you can pledge for our Dollars for Dingers fundraiser. Yep.
That's awesome.
That's where you can find me.
Please pledge.
Well, thank you.
I don't know what you root for. Just pledge. It means a lot to the three of us, I can surely say, but everyone around here, you know.
Every dollar counts. Please pledge.
Yes. For Pete Alonso especially. That's my boy.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
We'll let you enjoy the rest of your evening.
All right.
Yeah, go pledge.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, please do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. All right.
Oh, well, that was a good top to start off with. So can only go up only down from here, but we want us to keep going up. So we'll try. We'll try with
promising a little bit.
Yeah, we got some good stuff. I mean, minor league baseball is finally unionized. So I mean, that's a great topic to start off with, you know, after having someone come on, you know, our first guest. So that's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I know this was something that was really important to you. So
yes, I no longer have to like always wear my Unionize the Minors shirt to every minor league game I go to because I don't care. But yeah, so it took 17 days for Major League Baseball Players Association to reach the agreement. They became the bargaining agent for more than 5,500 minor leaguers. And the minor leaguers that earn as little as $10,400 per season are expected to negotiate for initial collective bargaining agreement during the off season.
I mean, I just still can't fathom that like $10,000 because
people make less than that.
Yeah, you can make more. And like the thing is, it's like it's not as if these guys are getting paid when they're not playing. You know, it's not like with you know, they're getting that money. And then these are also guys that have to, you know, not just get that $10,000 for themselves. Like they probably have families, and then you have to pay your agent because you know they all have like things like this. So it's like you look at that and you're like, nobody can live off of $10,000. People that work retail jobs are making more than that, you know, and that's not a knock on people working retail. That's just saying those people are also paid so poorly. But that, you know, some of these guys I mean, most of them have to work, outside of the guys that it's not every minor leaguer. Some of these guys have been, handed checks for millions of dollars already, but most of them have not. And those are,
they're a good chunk that just sit there in the minors for years and don't ever come up.
Yeah, absolutely. There's more of those than there are multimillionaires. And then even those people that get all of that money, sometimes they don't properly, invest it, and then it's gone. So it's like you need money to help sustain you throughout your life. And $10,000 a year, or you're not even a full year. Like it's just this tiny chunk of money that they're just handed and then expected to, work multiple jobs outside of that.
It reminds me of this one. It was the Blackhawks. So we're switching hockey for a second, but they're like backup goalie. It seemed like it got down to the point where both of their goalies were injured, and they had to finally call on this guy, and he was like almost gave up. He was an accountant, and then suddenly he was like starting goalie for the Blackhawks for a couple of days, which, that just shows you how deep that farm system is and how guys just sometimes don't come up and they're forced to leave something that they love.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's a great news, but some not fun news. Ozzy Albies has made his way back to the injured list with a fractured finger. There is a chance that he can be back by the playoffs since it didn't require any surgery. But I mean, that's a blow to, like he's just so important to the Braves. So like that's such a blow to them. Like, but then again, it's crazy that, the Braves went and won an entire World Series without Ronald Acuna Jr. though. So it's like crazy things can happen and people can rally around, Ozzy Albies being injured, but he's still he's a spark plug and they need him. Absolutely. So, and he's such a fun guy to watch.
He is. As much as I hate it.
Yeah. True.
Who else? Oh yeah. Suarez was also placed on something is going on with fingers because he's placed on the 10-day injured list with a small fracture in his right index finger. So I don't know. Let's bandage these fingers up if we can.
I know the figure you're just so exposed out there when you're holding the bat and things and you're just like, ugh, you just slide wrong and your finger goes I can only imagine the little nicks. It's just so crazy to me when I think more and more on how Cal Ripken Jr. played those consecutive games.
Yes.
Because it's not saying, oh, he was healthy. He was not healthy. He just played through these crazy pains. Or he paid through. It's interesting, though, because, had he played now, I'm sure, medical professionals wouldn't allow him to play with some of the things. But, in the 80s, I'm sure they're like, oh, yeah, we'll just tape up that finger. And if you can go, you could still go. Whereas today, it's like, oh, no, you're on the IL. So I'm sure, it was just a different way of how they, dealt with injuries then that they do today. But still, it's an incredible achievement when you really think about it.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. But then Aaron Judge is very close to making history. He reached home run number 59 and is now within 2 of Roger Maris's American League record with 16 games left to the season. So without a doubt, he is going to surpass that, and he will be doing it for the same team, which is very interesting in and of itself. Of course, Roger Maris in 61 chased 60. Chased, Babe Ruth 60, got to 61, so it's things like that are just absolutely incredible just to think about that it's the same team, and he may not even be on that team after, a couple more months, because this talk about being able to bet on yourself in such a because they offered him over $200 million and he was like, nah. Well, we're going to add another 100 million to that. And he bet correctly on himself because he's going to get paid.
Man, good. He is probably one of the smartest baseball players out there today, just because he did. He, like you just said, he did bet on himself, paid off. He's going to get more money than you can even imagine, no matter where he ends up. And he's just so good at baseball.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's like the contract's not going to look like a Mookie Betts. It's not going to be for the years that Mookie Betts got, because Mookie Betts was just younger and like,
Yeah.
we're hitting the wrong side of 30, but Aaron Judge proved that he could stay healthy this season. I don't doubt that he's not going to stay healthy, and we'll see what happens.
You look at like Justin Verlander though. He's almost 40, and despite his like brief injured stint, it just proves that maybe you can still be an excellent player on the wrong side of 30.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Judge is built a little bigger, so he might be able to, when you look at Mookie Betts, he's like 5'9" and like 110 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah.
That you're just like, oh, you're gonna break down. Like, whereas like you look at Aaron Judge, he just looks like a linebacker. And I just like, I would love to not see him on the Yankees ever again, like, and like people like, of course, the media, especially the media in Boston, it's like, we'll get into that because I have a huge issue with the media in Boston, what's going on right now, but oh my god. But you just have people like writing articles being like, oh yeah, Aaron Judge would fit perfectly in the Red Sox. And I'll take it in a little nanosecond. And they can afford it. They can afford to have Judge, Bogarts, and Devers. Like it can be done, especially if you construct contracts in a smart way too, where, maybe the AAV isn't as high. Cause like that's what Mookie did with the Dodgers. They were like, here's $65 million. And then your AAV isn't even really hitting 30. So you're like, oh, like great. So like that could be something that Aaron Judge could be interested in, and then you can absolutely add him to your team. But there's just so many Red Sox fans, and I think it's because they look at those pinstripes and they'll just be like, Aaron Judge is overrated, or Aaron Judge sucks, or I don't want Aaron Judge. You know what? I want Aaron Judge.
Yeah, I would take him any day of the week. Yes. I hate the team. Don't hate him. I'd love to have him.
Yeah.
What else? Oh, Sandy Alcantara pitched his 5th major league complete game, allowing for 7 hits, and the Marlins were able to avoid the series sweep by the Nationals. But the 5th complete game in his career.
He is in like a time machine, and he's doing things that like Pedro Martinez did consistently. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do what a starting pitcher is supposed to do. I love it because nowadays they go 5 and you're like, and he's over here just being like, nah, I'm tossing complete games on the regular, and I love it.
He's incredible too.
I'd kill to have him, but God, the package to get him would be like obscene. You're just like, oh yeah, that's all, because he's cost controlled. He's still young. Like, my God. Yeah, I would love to see, Yeah, but then again, Kim's going to want all the prospects for him.
Yeah. I don't blame her.
Yeah. Also, your boy, Pete Alonso, got drilled by a ball, and then a benches clear between the Mets and the Pirates. I don't know. There were times where, like, Pete looks like he wants to start some fights, though. You'll just like, what are we doing, Pete? What are we doing?
He gives me those, like, I will get my knuckles bloodied up for this.
Yeah. He's ready to go.
Take everyone down.
That's a big boy.
I want him in my corner if I ever get into like a drunken bar fight or something. Like,
yeah, you just want Pete Alonso to.
Corner.
Yeah. Yeah, this one weird.
I know. So, and I got this alert on my phone.
Like, I saw it too, and then.
So the news broke of David Price retiring, but then according to him, he said just yesterday, he was like, I haven't even made up my mind on if I'm retiring just yet. I don't know if I'm ready. After
you Tom Brady this
3 days ago.
Yeah, he Tom Brady'd it.
Yeah. I told my husband, I was like, oh, David Price is retiring. And then I read today that it's like, oh, I don't even know.
I mean, what more could he need? He has a Cy Young. He was a huge part to the 2018 World Championship. He got to sit at home, do nothing, and get another ring for it. Like what more do you need, David Price?
No.
It's like, go home, go to Tennessee, be with your wife and your babies.
Right.
Yeah, and then of course the Dodgers became the first team to reach 100, and then they tweeted out something ridiculous where it's like I think they were doing it as like a haha, look at us, being like, oh yeah, like who would have thought us? And I don't know, like a lot of people were either saying like, oh, it's like it was a joke, which it could have been, or the idea of it was Mookie with Freddie Freeman. Whoever thought Mookie and Freddie Freeman would ever be teammates? There's so many things, but at the same time, I'm just like, that is a cocky tweet, and I don't like it. Like, yeah. I don't like the vibes of like that tweet. That's why I was like, no. We get it. You're really good. But you know who also is really good? There are two other teams in your league like that may prevent you from getting to the World Series. And they are the Dodgers. I mean, no, so it's like the Braves and the Mets. So you have to get through them. So it's not as if like, it's like, oh, we're so good. We're just like walking our way to the World Series. It's like, no, a team in the American League has a better chance of walking their way into the World Series than, you know, any team in the National League does. So it's like, I don't know. I don't like this cockiness. Also, again, I'm not saying 2020 was a Mickey Mouse season. I will never say that. I'm not saying it. But like, you got to really win more than just the COVID season to really be this cocky. Like, I feel like the Astros are less cocky because they really have to win a World Series that's not 2017. So they're sort of in the same, like, they're almost like the same type of team in certain ways where it's like they have to prove to like the baseball world that they are more than just, you know, a certain season, because it's like, and then, but you have this cockiness to you that it's like, I don't know. I don't like it. I really don't. Like, prove it to me.
Yeah, speaking of those Astros, they did just clinch their 6th consecutive postseason berth because we all knew that was going to happen anyway.
Like,
they were on fire this year.
I hate that, like, they got rid of George Springer and went right back to the World Series. I hate that they got rid of Carlos Correa and they're just going to walk themselves probably back to the World Series because outside of, I've always said it. I think the Yankees are overrated. So I don't see who's gonna stop the Houston Astros from getting back to the World Series. I really, really, really don't, and I hate it. Maybe it's gonna be a rematch in 2017.
Yeah, the Guardians might be on a streak right now, but I don't see anybody actually taking down the Astros.
God, imagine if the Guardians and their like no payroll actually. I swear to God,
I would die. That would be hilarious.
Oh my God. Ugh, that's
crazy. I actually just had this conversation with one of my friends at the game the other night. I was like, do you think they got like karma points for taking away their like racist name? And now they're doing great because
maybe. Yeah, they're like, you know what? It's like, yeah, maybe we're gonna make you good. But I mean, the thing is that even though they have a shit payroll, they just develop pitching in such a way, and then they're able to, I don't know, swindle Jose Ramirez into like taking no money to continue to be their third baseman. So like, I don't know, it's like the Braves are also incredible at like being like, here's a good bit of money, but clearly not what your value is, and I'm going to convince you to sign on the dot. That is like the opposite of what like the Red Sox have for players. It's like the Red Sox had like Mookie Betts and Rafael Devers that are just like, we want that almighty dollar. And I don't blame them on that. But somehow it's like the Red Sox get effed by like, and I don't know what it is, by like just having these players that don't want to extend for a smaller deal. And again, they don't have to. But it's like somehow the Braves are just like breeding the ones that just want to sign on the dot. And I don't know.
It's unfair.
It's frustrating.
Well, we already talked about Sandy Alderson with Allison, so we can skip over that note. What do we have?
Oh, this Rays one. That's really cool.
That was really neat. The picture is also really neat.
That's really cool.
So, yeah, they made MLB history with an all-Latin lineup on Roberto Clemente Day, and, like, even their base coaches were
awesome.
Latin American descent. So, good on them. I didn't see a ton of, like, really, and it's disappointing because it's the 21st anniversary of it, too. I didn't see a ton of fanfare this year, which was so disappointing.
I think that it needs to. He's just so important. Like, he is the Jackie Robinson for the Latin American community, and the fact is that it's an option to wear 21. I don't think that should be an option. I think that every single person should be wearing 21 on that day. I think 21 should be retired league-wide as well. And only on Roberto Clemente Day do we wear 21, and every single person wears 21. For like the Red Sox, it's the Latin American guys. And then it's interesting that because he was such a philanthropist, that it is always the person that is the Jimmy Fund representative. We always have that. And that person also wears 21, but it's not as if, so it's usually all the Latin guys and like Latin American guys that we have on the team. And yeah, so that person. And then right now it is Nathan Eovaldi. So it's like all the Latin guys and then Nathan Eovaldi that wear 21 on Roberto Clemente Day. But I think everybody needs to wear it.
We also had the nominees. Like, so if you were of Latin American descent, so like I remember Javi Baez was wearing it, and people are like, why does he have a name on its back? And I was like, baby, that's Roberto Clemente. That just came out weird. It's like, that's Clemente's number. He's Puerto Rican. Like, he's going to be wearing that. And then the nominees were wearing it.
Yeah, that's good too.
And they're like, well, why does Liam Hendricks have this number? And I was like, well, because he was the nominee this year. You're going to see Jake Diekman wear it too. Like, this is the thing. They were letting them wear it because they didn't play. They played the day after, but still, it's like they're letting them wear it. Do you not know?
It's like,
do you need a history lesson?
Yeah, it's just crazy. Yeah, absolutely. And I love it. But it's interesting too, because when guys win that award, they talk about how it's one of the best awards that they've ever won. And yet we're not getting the support for it that we should be getting. I agree completely.
Yeah. Absolutely. League-wide, it's the best they could do at this point.
And then speaking of Latin American players, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hits his 100th home run at 23 years old. He is the 10th youngest player in Major League Baseball history to reach that mark. Holy crap, just thinking about that.
That kid's got power. He's so good.
He's so, did you, I don't know if we noted it here, but did you see like when he came out and talked about, Ohtani versus Judge for MVP, and then that idiot, like what gives you the right to be like, you have a blue check mark, and then being like, learn to pitch, and then you and Judge can win an MVP, you little, they called him like a little bitch.
Yeah, called him a little bitch.
And I'm like, one, it's not even like he was speaking to you. It's not like he came up to this guy and said, hey, you, I'm talking directly to you about this because it's just like so it's not as if like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. had said something personally to this guy that you're like, oh, maybe I'm just gonna be like, yeah, you suck or something. It's like so out of left field. And I don't know, to me, and this is coming from a diehard Red Sox fan, Aaron Judge should be the MVP. And to me, it's incredibly unfair that you say, oh, he can't pitch. What Shohei Ohtani's doing is absolutely incredible. He is the only person doing it. And by saying that, oh, can he pitch? Can he pitch? Well, like, then nobody else is getting that award outside of Shohei Ohtani. And it should be just called the Shohei Ohtani Award. And no other person in Major League Baseball can get it if Shohei Ohtani is consistently hitting and pitching at an elite level.
My daughter is watching and she said hi. So hi, Addie.
Hi. Thank you for watching me go on my rant. Anyway, I'll let your mother talk about it now a bit.
No, I agree. I mean, there's no reason Aaron Judge shouldn't get it. And this is maybe a controversial take, but Ohtani is a decent pitcher. He's nowhere near the best in the league. Like, I think he's a much better hitter than he is a pitcher.
Absolutely. I agree. And it's not even like he is the best hitter currently, because that is Aaron Judge. It's not even like we're talking about Aaron Judge just hitting a bunch of home runs. If Aaron Judge was just hitting a shitload of home runs and all of the stats were meh, I would be like, okay, fine. he is not even just leading the American League. He is leading Major League Baseball in most every single category. Like, people have been tweeting about how this is maybe the single greatest season since like Mookie Betts in 2018 from an offensive standpoint. Like, the Yankee, like, he's probably going to finish this season with a 10 WAR. And I know a lot of people, WAR is not everything. And I'm not saying WAR is everything, because I'm talking about all of the other numbers as well. But we're talking about if it's potentially 10 WAR, take away Aaron Judge from the Yankees do not have the division. The Yankees, like, they don't. So Aaron Judge is single-handedly giving the Yankees 10 wins, and you're telling me that is not the most valuable player? Like, that is the literal definition of value.
Like, there's no way he should walk out with like fewer than at least 3 awards this year. Like, he's just insane. Yeah. Everything he does is just...
Yeah, and it's tough because it's not like we're saying that Shohei Ohtani isn't great, and what he isn't doing is absolutely incredible, because it is.
Yeah, like, it is. Shohei.
Yeah. It's just I personally just feel like it is Aaron Judge's this year. And I think Aaron Judge should have actually won in 2017, especially if you look at numbers. Numbers-wise, he actually blew away Jose Altuve. And I know everything's flawed, but so like it, so who the heck knows? Like, he honestly could lose it again. Like,
not.
I don't know. It's crazy.
Like, the whole league is cheering for Aaron Judge. Oh, let's see, where are we at? So this was kind of funny. The Giants optioned Zach Littell to Triple-A Sacramento after a very tense exchange on the mound with Gabe Kapler. And they took the very heated argument into the tunnel afterwards. He was very upset that Gabe wanted to take him out because he was pitching very poorly. But yeah, I saw the video. Like, you can't really tell what they're saying, but you can tell, like, he says something to Gabe, and Gabe whips his head around like that dad that's mad at you in the front seat of the car. And they were still arguing as they got to the tunnel. And so it's kind of funny that now he's been optioned.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think that Gabe handled that in such a professional way too, by being like, we're going down that tunnel. I'm not embarrassing you any more that you already embarrassed yourself. Yeah. And I understand there's a competitive nature to people, and people do not want to be taken out of the game. But like, it's not like, oh, I had to take you out because of pitch count. You were pitching a no-hitter and you're so upset. Like, you were crap. Yeah. You were pitching like crap. This is why you are not, like, we want to try to keep ourselves in the game as much as we can. Like, this is why we're taking you out. And so I just thought he handled it in such a classy way, really.
He did. We stand.
Yeah. And then Framber Valdez of the Astros pitched his first career shutout on Monday against the Tigers. So congrats to him. And the Astros just keep winning baseball.
They keep coming back. More news on the Giants. They did sign Wilmer Flores to a 2-year extension, and that contract is worth $13 million and includes an option for 2025. So he's making like $6.5 million a year at this point with that contract, which not bad.
I take it. And then a pretty awesome thing: the Athletics retired number 34 for Dave Stewart. So that's awesome. That will hang in the ugly rafters that is the Coliseum. Or like, it's just weird with what they do is like they put the numbers like covering all of those seats, because that's like where the football stands would be if it was still like, and I'm just like, oh, that's so tacky looking. So Dave Stewart will forever have his entire section at whatever the Coliseum is called now. I have no idea. They keep changing.
Whatever it will be. Who knows?
Yeah, the Oakland Coliseum is what I will call it. And definitely not the worst ballpark that I've ever been to, though, too. And that's a fact.
No.
It's not terrible. It's just built for football.
Yeah. But that was a really nice ceremony.
Awesome.
It was ahead of a White Sox game, so I was able to watch a little bit of it.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Oh, and then we've got some great news.
Oh, yeah. Albert Pujols passed A-Rod for the 4th all-time with 697 home runs.
Oh my God, if this man does not hit 3 runs over the last, 16 games that's left, I don't know what, because I need that 700. Like, I just need it for him. I do.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it was amazing seeing Miggy hit the 500. If he can hit 700 home runs, I would go down to St. Louis if that was something I see coming soon. I would drive my happy butt down there to watch it. And this is coming from someone who hated him for so long because of how good he is.
It's incredible. And he's just having like a real resurgence. Like he's been super valuable to the Cardinals. And it's going to be great to see him get it in like a Cardinals uniform. It would be awesome if he got it at Busch Stadium, like in front of all the Cardinals fans. Like that would be awesome. Like truly. So all the luck in the world to Albert Pujols to get, those final 3. And I mean, I think he will.
I think they're going to give him enough playing time so they almost ensure that he does.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think he has to. I think he really does. And it's not like he's harming the team at all. Like he's been very good for them. So fingers crossed. And then Zach Gallen made history last week by passing Brandon Webb for the longest scoreless streak in franchise history with 42 1/3 innings for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Like that is such a cool thing for him.
It is.
That's also incredible streak. Incredible streak.
Yes. Good for the Diamondbacks too. I know they don't have the best team, but good for him.
Yeah, maybe it's nice to pitch without pressure.
I know. Well, I don't know though, because it didn't work for Dallas Keuchel. He keeps getting DFA'd everywhere he goes. So
it's sad. Go home to your pretty wife. Let her come up in the world of, baseball reporting and just be her cheerleader, Dallas.
Right, before we wrap it up, since we are nearing the end of the season, we might as well go over some division updates, maybe some awards predictions.
Take a peek. Let's see what we're doing. I know you're actually still in a race.
I am.
Mine is not, but this is what gets me so much because it's like your team is 5.5 out of the wild card, but they're like within more of a striking distance within their division. But also just Cleveland has been on a huge roll. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, we play them tomorrow too, so I'm terrified of what will come. And the Twins have not helped us at all. Stupid Minnesota. Obviously, the Yankees are going to take that division. There's really no question, despite the Blue Jays kind of being a little hot.
They're trying. There's a possibility. I would love it. I'd love a collapse, but yeah, I would also agree that the Yankees are going to win the American League East for sure.
I feel like the Guardians are still going to do it. I do not have that much faith in the White Sox right now. They got really hot, but they got really hot too late for it to really matter at this point. And I'm convinced it's because Tony is not managing them right now.
Honestly, it seems that way.
Yeah, I mean, there have been all of these comments about how like the vibes are great and they're having so much fun and what could have possibly caused this to happen?
Oh, I don't know.
You removed the dinosaur from the dugout. What were you expecting?
Right? Oh my God. Yeah, so I agree though. It probably will be Cleveland. And then of course Houston's already clinched, the West, because of course they have.
Yeah, we're gonna do it.
And then the dog fight that is the the National League East. The National League East is now suddenly the American League East, where it used to always be like Yankees, Red Sox battling. Now it's those these Mets, Braves, pretty crazy. And I'm fine with either of them winning. Yeah, I think they might too. But damn, they're so good. They're still so good. Like, oh God.
It's really been a battle. And then the Cardinals kind of eked out, and because the Brewers were top for quite some time, and then that devil magic came back.
Man, those Cardinals are they're always consistently good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just a great franchise, really. And then Dodgers. They can break my Red Sox 108 wins. Like, they're not going to get to the 116, at least for, like, you know, the all-time record that, you know, of all the teams the Mariners own. But yeah, the Dodgers are damn good.
Yeah.
Damn good.
The
And no matter what,
Padres, and they're 21 back.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, that is absolutely crazy. Also, just San Francisco. Why would last season must have been a fluke? I hate to say it though, but like,
Yeah.
they won like 103 games last year, and now they're like below 500. Like, right? Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. And then the wild card standings. We have for the American League, we have Toronto and Tampa Bay and Seattle, with, you know, the close teams being Baltimore.
Yeah.
The White Sox and sort of even the Minnesota and then Boston, but you know, I just want the Red Sox to maybe get above 500. You know,
I could see the Blue Jays taking that one though.
Yeah. I think it will be. Yeah. Also, just this, it's just so much like crazy. Yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy. But I would love to see Seattle actually get into the playoffs for the first time in 20 years?
Yeah.
Like, it's like crazy.
Been
So
forever.
definitely rooting for that. And then the wild card, you know, we have Atlanta, San Diego, and Philadelphia, with, like, you know, Milwaukee. So I think it's going to be Milwaukee and Philly really kind of fighting for that third, you know, that third one there.
I think Philly will take it, but I agree between those two.
Crazy. Like, absolutely, just it's gonna be interesting last, you know, couple weeks to end it all. So yeah, because they're showing the playoff picture. If it was to like end today, I guess it would be Seattle versus Cleveland, Tampa Bay versus Toronto, and then of course the buys would be, so automatically the Yankees, and then Houston would, you know, wait for the wild card people, and then of course the Dodgers and the Mets would wait for, you know, Philly versus St. Louis, San Diego versus Atlanta, if, you know, it was to end today. But a lot of things could really be changing quite quickly.
Yeah, it's a tight race everywhere right now.
Yeah,
except for the Dodgers, but you know, whatever. We don't care about them.
Nope. We knew that was gonna happen.
Yeah. And then I'm just gonna say Dylan Cease for Cy Young. That's all I care about. It's the only award I care about.
That's all you want. You're like, nobody else is getting it but Dylan Cease. I don't know. I'd really have. I think it's gonna come down to like Cease and Verlander.
Yeah.
Really, and just what Verlander's doing as a 1,000-year-old is great. And like McClanahan was in there before McClanahan got injured. And you know, Verlander's been off and on, you know, in and out of injuries too, but not to the extent of like what McClanahan's been going through. So
I do think though that complete nearly no-hitter game really helped Dylan kind of break through that mold and get closer to it. Which
I'd really have to look at all of the numbers deeper for everybody to really be like, oh yeah, like this person edges out that one. But then again, you know, nobody really looks at the deep numbers, because as much as I love Rick Porcello, Justin Verlander totally should have won that Cy Young that year. But you know, some people get blinded, like and it's like Porcello had himself a great season like that year, but yeah, it definitely should have been Verlander's. But
yeah,
you know, can you say?
And then is going to win the American League MVP.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's look over some National League things. Some pitching. I don't know. I'd love to see Sandy Alcantara win it. Like, that would be just what he's doing, like with those complete games, if nothing else. Because I just don't want to. I also hate Urias. Like, you want to talk about an abuser that still gets to play in Major League Baseball. So, Fried's also been having a good season. So has Gallen, but I'd love to see
in and out of injury though too this year.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be Sandy.
Yeah, no, I agree too. And I would love to see it. Yeah. And then with the Dodgers, I mean, like, I don't know, like the Dodgers, like, I don't know. You know, this is tough to like, I truly don't know who the hell is going to win the National League MVP. Like, really, I don't think there's a clear-cut person.
What if Freddie Freeman wins it?
Oh my God. I know Freeman is leading in quite amount of categories. Like, he's leading average, even though average to me, Xander Bogaerts is probably going to win the batting crown in the American League. And that's why I'm like, good for you. But I don't know. It's aesthetically pleasing to see someone hit above 300, but to me, it doesn't really necessarily mean the value of your player and how good you are from an offensive standpoint. I mean, you know that better than anyone with, who is the catcher that like would hit 240, but his OPS be like 1,000? He was the White Sox. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, to me, that's why like, it was like, oh, he's hit so, like, he's only hitting, it's like, I don't know, I'll take like a 900 OPS over, a 300 average. But that's just me. So I know Goldschmidt has also had himself a hell of a year. Like, Goldschmidt is leading in OBP, slugging, on base, percent, like OPS. Like, so I don't know. It could be
He's
Goldschmidt.
one I would like to see win.
Yeah,
honestly.
And he plays a prime position too, just like Freeman does at first. So I'm in the Goldschmidt. Go Goldschmidt.
Yeah.
But it would be hilarious if Freeman. It'd be hilarious if Freeman wins the MVP, but then the Braves win the World Series. Like, I'm here for that narrative.
I don't want that outcome, but yes, that would be really funny.
It would be. All right. I think we covered just about everything. So it's good to be back doing it. I just got back from Vegas, so I need to go sleep for like 8 days.
Yeah, I just had a trip to Detroit this weekend and then a double header, and I had to get up at 5 a.m. to drive back down to make it in time for pictures and a double header in the 90-degree heat. So I am also and I started a new job today, so I'm very tired.
Exciting. That's exciting. So we're just doing quite a bit, but we had to come and chat about our favorite sport for a bit. Yes, so thank you, as always, once again, Crystal.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. I don't even care.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, as always, for listening and watching. We appreciate it. And we will see you